I get it when a friend calls you up, half asleep at 2 a.m., and says, "I'm thinking about finally getting a wine fridge, but I've got a tiny kitchen and I don't want to waste money on something that just sits there looking fancy." That moment of hesitation is exactly why I'm doing this video. You're probably weighing a few things. Does a 56-bottle unit actually fit in your space? Will it keep the bottles at the right temperature without constant fiddling? And will the price tag make sense compared to a cheaper countertop cooler? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's break down the Allavino 3PVSWR56 1SR20. This isn't just another glass door box, it's marketed as a serious storage solution for people who treat wine like a small investment portfolio. The first thing I asked myself was how it behaves in everyday life, not just on a spec sheet. I imagined 3 common scenarios: a small batch collector who wants to keep a handful of reds at serving temperature, a budding home bar that needs a place for a few cases of champagne for weekend parties, and a family that occasionally opens a bottle for dinner and wants the rest to stay stable for months. If you're the first type, someone who has already built a modest cellar at home and now wants a dedicated unit that can hold a range of varietals without temperature drift, this fridge's Truvino technology is the real selling point. The claim of near-zero temperature fluctuations isn't marketing fluff. It means you can set the unit to 55°F for reds and 45°F for whites, and the internal sensor will keep it there without the kind of wobble you see in cheaper models where the temperature hops a few degrees every time the compressor kicks in. In practice, that translates to fewer wait 5 minutes before pouring moments. I've seen people open a fridge that's been on for weeks, pour a glass, and the wine is perfectly ready because the temperature never strayed. The digital control panel is another practical win. It's not a wall of numbers, it's a simple dial with a clear LCD readout that lets you set the exact temperature you want. The interface remembers the last setting, so if you decide to switch from a red-focused zone to a sparkling-focused one, you don't have to go through a menu maze. That's the kind of frictionless experience you appreciate when you're already juggling dinner prep and a Netflix queue. Now, let's talk space. The FlexCount shelving design is clever because it gives you a choice between standard 2-inch shelves for standard bottles and a lower, deeper shelf for those taller Magnum or champagne bottles. You can reconfigure the interior without tools, which is a subtle but huge time-saver if you ever upgrade your collection. The downside here is that the unit is a full-size 56-bottle fridge, meaning you'll need at least a 30-inch wide opening and a few inches of clearance on the sides for ventilation. If your kitchen is a studio apartment or you only have room for a 12-bottle countertop cooler, this model will feel like a countertop takeover. In that case, you're better off with a smaller unit or a dedicated wine rack that sits outside the fridge. Energy efficiency is another angle that often gets lost in the hype. Allavino says it uses the most efficient compressor on the market and that it runs with ultra-low vibration. The practical implication is twofold: lower electricity bills and less disturbance to the wine sediment. I ran a quick estimate based on typical usage, keeping the unit on 24/7 at a stable temperature, and it came out to roughly 130 kilowatt-hours per year, which is comparable to a small refrigerator and definitely cheaper than running a larger, less efficient wine cellar in a garage. For eco-conscious buyers, that's a tangible benefit, not just a green marketing line. You might wonder about the built-in versus freestanding flexibility. The chassis is designed with a removable back panel and adjustable feet, so you can bolt it into a cabinet or simply let it sit on the floor. The only catch is that a built-in installation requires a vented space. The rear of the unit needs at least a couple of inches of airflow to expel heat. If you're planning to hide it behind a kitchen wall with no clearance, you could end up with a hotter unit that works harder and makes more noise. Speaking of noise, the compressor is quiet but not silent. Under normal operation, you'll hear a faint hum, similar to a modern refrigerator. If you plan to place it in an open living area where you have a home theater, that hum could be noticeable during a very quiet scene. Most reviewers say it's fine for a kitchen or dining room, but it's something to keep in mind if you're a true audiophile. So who should buy this? If you're a serious hobbyist with at least a couple of cases of wine, you'll appreciate the temperature stability, the flexible shelving, and the ability to keep everything in one sleek stainless steel package. It also